sinned against his God before he became king. David was a man after God's own heart.
Great to be with you today. Good to see new faces. If you are new to our location, we do have a card if you don't mind filling out. One of the ushers right here has them. We'd like to keep in contact with you and keep you up to date on our events. And so we also have a free gift for you after the service. Please ask one of the ushers for that as well. Have you heard about what's going on lately? Have you seen what's been going on? I was anointed king just a few weeks earlier, in secret by the prophet Samuel. You know, and I was chosen above all my other brothers, and they are older brothers. But for some reason, God saw fit to choose me to be the king. Then a few days later, there was a big skirmish going on in the valley. And someone said there's this huge Philistine guy named Goliath standing there, taunting the armies of God, taunting our God. And I ran as fast as I could, and I left my sheep with someone else so I could just see what was going on. Who is this guy to taunt the Lord God of hosts? And I ran up and I heard someone saying, you know what? The king, Saul, has promised to anyone who would slay Goliath one of his daughters in marriage and a big reward. And as soon as I heard that, I thought, wait, what? Reward? Marriage? Quickly? And so I said, hey, what does it take to get up there and be against Goliath? Sure enough, my brother said, what are you doing here, you rascal? You scoundrel, you're just here to watch us get destroyed by the Philistines? And I said, no. I'll go forward because you know what? No one else would approach Goliath. So they tried to put this helmet on me and tried to put this armor on me, and it didn't fit. And I said, you know, I can't go up there like this. I'll trip and fall before I even reach Goliath. I said, take this stuff off. They took the helmet off of me. They took the sword. It was too heavy, and all I had in my bag was my sling and my stones. 5 smooth stones. I ran up to Goliath, and he made fun of me. He said, what are you doing here, you little dog? I took my sling, and I swung it at him with all I had. Sure enough, one try went right into his forehead, and he fell flat on his face. I ran up to him and finished him off with his own sword. And I could see the army of the Philistines fall with fear. Their leader was just slain. They did not have the upper hand anymore. Saul found out about it, and he rewarded me. But I didn't marry his first daughter, I married his second daughter. And now I'm part of King Saul's family, and I'm in charge of his military men because everywhere I go, God gives me success. And I'm in charge of 1,000 men. Yet for some reason, Saul tried to kill me 3 times. 3 times. Twice with the spear, he tried to pin me against the wall. And then once he tried to sneak and send me out in the heat of the battle to get me killed. Now I'm on the run. And I'm alone. And I'm in danger. And in fact, I'm actually with the enemy, embedded with the Philistines. You know, in fact, in your own Bible, it's written about me. My name is David. In 1 Samuel 29, it tells you about what I had to go through. In fact, it says the Philistines gathered their forces at Aphek, and Israel camped by the spring in Jezreel. As the Philistine rulers marched with their units of hundreds and thousands, I and my men were marching behind the Philistines. One of the commanders of the Philistines said, "What's up with these Hebrews?" Now that's me. I'm a Hebrew. "What's up with these Hebrews? What are these Hebrews doing here?" And Achish replied, he was a friend of mine, but he was a Philistine. And he said, "This is David, who was an officer of Saul, king of Israel. He has already been with us for over 1 year. As from the day Saul left until now, I have found no fault in him." You know, see, he gave me props. He gave me credit before the Philistine generals. He said, "Let him be with us because Saul is trying to kill him. But he's loyal to us." But they didn't take the advice. They said, "Send them back now, that they may return to the place you assigned him. He must not go with us into battle, or he will turn against us in the fighting." How better could he regain Saul's favor than by taking the heads of our own men? They thought I was a traitor, a spy for Israel. And they said, "Isn't this David, the one who we heard they were singing about him and dancing, where Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s?" Yeah, that's me. They wrote a song about me. Achish said, "As the Lord lives, David, you have been reliable. And I would be pleased to have you serve with me in the army. From the day you came to me until today, I have found no fault in you, but my rulers do not approve of you. Turn back and go in peace. Do nothing to displease the Philistine rulers." But I couldn't believe they wouldn't let me with them. I said, "What have I done wrong? What have I done to be turned away?" He said, "You must not go with us in battle. Get up early, along with your master's servants who have come with you, and leave as soon as the sun breaks." So I got up early, and I headed back to Jezreel. So here I am, rejected by King Saul, my father-in-law. Rejected by my own people, and now I'm with the enemy, the Philistines, and they don't want me. Come on, I'm kind of famous. There's a song about me. I killed thousands of men. Didn't matter. So I felt isolated. I felt rejected. And you know what? It got worse. In fact, when we reached Ziklag, a city in the area, we found it destroyed by fire. And you know, this is the place where we left our wives and our sons and our daughters, and someone had come and kidnapped them. So we cried out aloud together in despair. And we had no strength in ourselves because of our mourning. And I was so distressed because the men were talking about stoning me. My own men rejected me as well. They were mumbling and saying, "Who is this David? He tried to get us in with the Philistines and they rejected him. And now look, our families have been taken away and no doubt they're dead. I wasn't sure what to do in that moment. But I knew there was one place for me to turn, and that was to my God. So I found strength from the Lord God, and I said to the priest, the son of Ahimelech, I said, bring the ephod. This was where we would inquire of God through the high priest. And I inquired through the high priest, and he said, God has told you, David, that you will certainly overtake them, those who have taken your family members, and you will succeed in rescuing them. A word from God. Someone who would talk to me when no one else would. So I took 600 men and I came to Besor and got 400 others to continue pursuing. For that's what we were told to do. Pursue them. And as we were on our journey, we found an Egyptian in a field brought to us. And we revived him and gave him some food. He hadn't eaten for days. And we found out that he was an Egyptian, a slave of an Amalekite. He said, my master abandoned me when I became sick 3 days ago. We raided Negev of the Kerethites, some territory belonging to Judah, and Ziklag, where we left our family and where we left our possessions. This man was one of them. But instead of killing him, I said, will you take us to your army? Will you take us to where your captains and your soldiers are? The ones that stole our lives? He said, I would and I will. But swear to me before God that you will not kill me or hand me over to my master, and I will take you there. So he led us down there, and there they were, scattered over the countryside, eating and drinking and partying with all our stuff. Not easy to look at. So I had a moment where I reflected on what God said. Pursue them and you will overtake them and rescue your family. So we went down, except for 400 who wanted to stay behind, and we rode off on our camels, and the enemy fled us. For a whole day, we fought against them. We recovered everything that they had taken, including my 2 wives. Nothing was missing, young or old, boy or girl, plunder, or anything else they had taken. I brought everything back. I took all the flocks and herds, and my men drove them, and they fled. And they said, this is David's plunder. We recovered everything. And there I was, strong again. Because I learned through that experience how to draw strength from God when things don't go your way. How do I stay mentally strong, spiritually strong, when the things around me just seem to be against me? When people seem to be against me? How can I be strong in those moments? I learned it through my experience of God. So I wrote a few things down for us today. And one of them is this. You can be strong and draw strength from God when things are going against you, by trusting God's providence, even amid danger and hostility. Even when there's danger around you, even when people are against you, even when circumstances are against you, you can still be guided by Him. You see, in the writings about me, God was watching over me. I mean, when I was with the Philistines, I really didn't think through, they could kill me at any moment. In fact, I had killed thousands of their men when I was working for Saul. But when he started to chase me, I had nowhere to run, and so I had to prove myself before the Philistines that I was worthy of being a part of their camp. And they should have killed me, but I found favor with one of their leaders. And he said, I don't find any fault in you, David. In fact, I'm willing to go to my generals and ask that you would be able to fight with us against your own people. That's how much I trusted you. But now as I reflect upon it, if I were to participate with the Philistines in killing Israelites, what would that mean for my kingship? When Israel finally would accept me, they might be able to say, you know what, David? Remember when you fought against us and killed our people for the Philistines, for Goliath's men? That would have ruined my reputation with God's people, even though Saul was against me. God protected me and guided me through those times. From doing something foolish, for doing something that was good in the moment, but later would have disastrous results. God guided me away from a self-inflicted wound on my kingship. It's a little bit like taking a cruise. I just found out because I'm new to this era, because I've been gone for a long time, and I grew up in the Holy Land. But when they flew me to Brookfield, they told me, hey, you could have took a boat here. It would have taken a long time. You could have taken a cruise. I said, what's a cruise? Like, oh, it's this big ship. Big boat that you get on, a bunch of people get on it, you have food, and you enjoy each other, and you can do whatever you want on the boat. I thought, oh, that would have been nice. Because I just sat in this really tight plane right in the middle of like 4 people on each side, and I didn't have an armrest. They had the armrest, but I didn't have it, so I was like this. And I had to try to eat my dinner that way. But this cruise I was told about reminded me of how God is really in control of where I'm going. You see, if I was on the cruise, yeah, I could go up into the dock and the deck area and look out into the water. I could eat the food, I could play the games, but the ship is taking me where it's going to take me no matter if I like it or not. And that is like God's providence. He has us on His ship, and He is taking us where we need to go. Yes, we have freedom on the ship, but in the grand scheme of things, we need Him to be taking us forward. And that's His providence. His governance and control of the circumstances of our lives is there to protect us, to keep us from doing something foolish, to keep us from shooting our own reputation down, to keep us from doing something that is important for us in the moment, but in the long term would have disastrous results. Thank God for cruise ships. So you can draw strength from God's providence. Another thing is this, I wrote this down on the flight. You can draw strength by inquiring of God first when you look for answers. When everything's falling apart in your life, when your close friend has snubbed you, when someone has mistreated you, and you tried to make it right and they rejected your reconciliation, or when your kids walk away from God, and on, you should look to God for answers first. Don't call up Aunt Pam or Judy or Tom or whoever your close friend is. Call on God first. Inquire of God first. And that's what I did. I learned that. I had nowhere to turn. In fact, I had no Aunt Pam's or Judy's or Tom's or Phil's to call. I had no cell phone. All I had was a direct line to God, and I had to use it. But my encouragement to you is to use it because it's there, not to use it as a last resort. So as it says in the passage, I was weak, and I was crying. Along with the men, we thought all our family are dead, and it's my fault. But I went to the man of God, and I asked that we could inquire of God. And I asked for a specific answer. Should I pursue the enemy, God? See, we have to be bold and take our request with boldness and specificity. Specific requests with boldness to God. He said yes. Pursue them, for you will overtake them, he promised me. All it needed now was just faith. You see, God shows us the path to take. It's often through his word. In fact, I love meditating on his word. I try to write psalms and songs and poems based upon his word to remind myself that I need to continue to listen to God. I was talking to a friend as I took an Uber. Have you heard of Uber? These are new to me, these things. Uber, airplanes. I took an Uber here, and the Uber driver was telling me a story because I asked him if he inquired of God first when he went through problems. And he said, you know, there's someone I know. Whenever they run into trouble, the first thing they do is they send me this text message. Hey, I need $100. Can you send me $100? And of course, none of us has it. So what do they do next? Well, they text their other sister. Hey, do you have $100? I need $100. I don't have it. There's one more sister left. Hey, I need $100. Sorry, we don't have it. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to scramble and I'm going to think. I'm going to go on Facebook. I heard about this. Facebook, and I'm going to post, I need $100. Or I need somebody's mom or dad to give me $100. And then this happens over and over, not just once. Sometimes people have need and they ask you for something and you give it to them, but then when they come back to you in 2 months, and 4 months, and 6 months, and 8 months, and 10 months, and 12 months, and 14 months, you're like, something has got to change this cycle, because this cycle is not healthy. It needs to be broken. And my thought was, what will break the cycle but asking God for $100? He has it. He has the means to give it to us. That would break the cycle. God knows our needs. He knows our wants and our desires. He longs to be gracious to us. He can get us the $100. But we gotta look to Him first for answers. Finally, this is it. When you ask God for advice, if you were to come and we had a chair here, and we had another chair right here, and God was in one of the chairs, and you were in another chair, and you were like, you know what, God? Can I just ask you a couple of questions? And you started to ask Him for advice. What should I do, God? Should I go take courses in college, or should I find a full-time job now? Should I, try to purchase a house with this money I saved? And we only had a few moments there with God just to ask Him a few questions. If He gave us the answers that He determined was best, is it optional for us to take the advice? No, it is not. We disregard God's advice at our own detriment. His advice must be taken in full faith. And that's the third point of how we get strong when we're going through difficult times. By acting on the advice God gives us in full faith. You see, it scared me when the high priest told me, you go pursue the Philistines. You go after them. You go and rescue your people. You will succeed. And you know what? A couple hundred of my guys, they said, we're too tired. At that point, when they said, we're too tired, and I'm telling you, it wasn't just a few guys, it was a couple hundred guys. My thought was, should I re-inquire of God? Should I go back to the high priest and say, you know what? Let's make sure that advice is golden, is good to take. I had that thought. But I didn't act on it. And so I said, you know what? You guys are tired. We've been fighting. We've been traveling. Stay back. But we're going forward with whoever will go forward. And we went forward. And as I said earlier, to my surprise, no one had been killed. None of our wives, none of our children, none of our things were missing. And we recovered all of it. But it took a big step of faith. God's advice is worth taking in full faith. Another person I met told me this story about how when they were going to get married to this young lady, they asked one of the brothers. Any of you have brothers very protective of the sister? Come on now. He said, you know what? What's the story with the dad? Any protective dads out there over your daughters? You don't want to give up your daughter? She's going to be a nun. She's going to the convent, vowing to be single for the rest of her life. Come on, dads. There's no dads in here like that? The pastor's like that, he told me. He said his daughter's not getting married. So the young man said, hey, what's with dad? He's very protective, he's very strict, that's what I heard. And the advice back from the brother was, yes, he is that way. But look, if you want to get married to one of his daughters, go through him, don't go around him. Go through him, don't go around him. Because if you go around him and you just go and elope and get married on some island, and then you come back after a few weeks and you go approach him, and you got this nice suntan, and he's like, where'd you get that suntan? Oh, I was out there marrying your daughter. He may consent to it. He may allow it. He may think, okay. But deep down, he's not going to like it. Because it's his daughter. He raised her. He cares about her. He wants to be a part of her wedding. He wants to be a part of her life with her new husband. And so the advice was, go and get his permission. Don't go around him. He could take that advice or not, right? But he should take it. Because he should trust that the short term is not as important as the long term. You don't want to be isolated from him or his wife. You want to be part of the family. So involve him. And so the advice was taken in full faith. And sometimes it isn't taken. As we get ready to pray and close, God has made you in his image. And he has made you to be strong. Yes, you are going through difficult times. Yes, people are abandoning you. People are leaving you. People are pressuring you. Your husband, he can be rough. Sometimes you don't listen to him. Sometimes he doesn't listen to anything. I've been there. But you can draw strength from God, and each one of us has to draw strength from God in order to move forward, to be successful, in order to complete the mission God has for us. When you're in those moments of weakness, don't let those be an excuse for you to take a route that God doesn't want you to take. Even when trials get more and more, you're like, I can't even believe something worse would happen to me when I was already going through this. God should still be sought out when your trials multiply. That's what happened in my life. And the conclusion of my life is that God made me king. And eventually I did sit on that throne finally. Saul did eventually die in battle. And it was in God's timing that I sat on that throne and that crown was put on me. And his word for me, and many of you, he's given you specific scriptures, specific words that are going to come true. But it just feels like it's taking forever. It did finally come to be realized. And that's when I knew. When I looked back, he was protecting me and guiding me all along. Let's pray. Thank you, God. As we consider your word, as we consider just how powerful you are, that you can control everything. And somehow we have freedom, and we still make mistakes, and we still sin, and we still fall short, and we do good things as well. That you're still in control, and somehow the end of history is already written out. And that includes all those mistakes and good things and failures and sins. And you still keep us protected. I pray, God, that each one of us here today would feel your protection in their lives, that they would see it happening, they would notice you, That we would notice you and be thankful to you, God. And that when things get difficult, that your word for us is come to me. Your word, your advice is come to me and inquire, ask me. Let's sing. Let's stand and let's sing to that end. Amen? Amen.